Well, good morning everyone and welcome to another podcast. It's a very, very bright, warm, sunny May day. All the trees are in leaf and I'm out on the River Aship, which is the little river that flows into Ladybower. This is part of the Birchin Lee Fly Fishing Club, and as some of you may know, I help out with the club. It's run by Ladybower Fisheries, but I kind of help out and manage it. It's very clear and it's going to be very challenging fishing, but that's just how I like it. I really fancy having a go at this in these conditions and see what we can find in here. It cuts through a big valley and the river's completely surrounded by trees on both sides. It's very, very beautiful. So there is a bit of shade from the sunshine today. I've got my little 7-foot 3-weight, 9-foot tapered leader on, and I've put a tiny little black gnat on. There's lots of flies around. Lots of midges, little gnats and things. I'm in the first pool of the river and I can see a few fish rising. I have a suspicion these may be some rainbows that have come up from the reservoir during the winter in the higher water. But it's going to be so hard even for these fellas to get a cast out. So I'm just going to approach this pool with caution. There's a waterfall slowly dripping down a cliff face on the left, and got some nice overhanging trees. I just don't want to put too many vibrations off this pool because it's incredibly still. How's my back cast looking? Not too bad. I'll get a bit of line moving. See if I can drop a fly out. Oh, I just don't want to spook these fish. There's my fly coming down the pool. Oh, that was a rise there, and that wasn't a rainbow, that was definitely a little brownie. Oh, that's so hard. The pool's so still, there's no flow in it. And I can see my waves I'm creating travelling out, and I don't want these fish to see them. It's a while since I've done any dry fly fishing. I had a rise at my fly then. There's a nice rise to my left there. Let's try and put a little cast out over that fella. Can't really see my fly that well, to be honest. It's a very small, skinny black gnat. There's the fish. A little short there, I think. It really rises and falls with rainfall, this river. It collects all the water falling on kind of the Sheffield side of the Snake Pass, as it were. So it can be torrential. Right, I'm going to move up a bit. It can really come up very quickly in heavy rain. Very tricky moving along this little area here. Oh, do you know what? When you take your eye off it for 2 seconds, that was a good old take as well. There's a cliff face and there's a couple of fish just moving right next to the cliff face. And it's the back cast that's not particularly easy. And I was just looking behind me to recast. And sure enough, as I turn around, a trout would sit that one in. Oh, that's a nice rise just in front of me there. Let's try and drop it on that fella. You can hear the motorbikes going up the A57. Give it an hour or two and we'll have the ambulance following them up. Scoop them up. Right, let's get back in the pool, and I've put quite a few waves across the pool now. I can always come back to these fish if I spook them. Which I think I may have done, moving to get my fly off the grass behind me. I've seen a couple of shadows shoot off, and that could be game over for here. I just put a speculative cast up. It's going to be a very hot day today. I took the dogs out first thing before it got too warm, and that was it. Well, 7:45 upon the fields, and it was 18 degrees when I got up there. It's been a strange old year this year. We've gone from winter and cold temperatures and high water and easterly winds, and we've gone straight from that to summer. And we've not really had, well, for me anyway, not had some of those nice overcast, slightly cooler spring days where, you know, good fishing days. It's been either freezing cold or blazing sunshine. All right, I think I've put these fish down, so I may just come back to these. Yes. I'm going to venture upstream. Well, I had a take anyway, so it's a good start. It's only my distraction that caused me to lose it. But I'd like to find a bit of streamier water, I think. The sun is absolutely beating down. I think I'll get out and walk round. It's going to be one of them days, very, very challenging fishing. Let's see if we can find a few riffles and a bit of shade. I'm just coming up to the back of a little run now, but it is very shallow. And the problem is, unless you see a fish rise, the first thing you'll know about it is the shadow of the fish scooting off up the stream. In fact, there's still some trees that haven't come out in their full leaf yet. A mixture of trees, some are fully out and some they're just turning. So it just shows you, you know, that the day's like an August day. It's not even really got into the full flow of spring. Oh, there's a fish. Now what I saw there was not the fish itself, but I just saw a little flash of silver as it turned to take a nymph, and now it's gone back on its normal lie. I can't see the thing. It's the stream bottom is rocky and brown, and a brown trout when it's upright facing upstream is going to look exactly the same, but I can see the odd little flash of silver down there, which tells me there's some fish ahead. Oh, I've just heard a rise as well. I mean, the river here is only 15 foot wide. It's absolutely stunning. I mean, a little summer idyll, really. It's a chocolate box image of fly fishing with the beautiful green banks and tree-lined little stream with babbling little riffles flowing down through it. Is it worth getting in here and having a go? I'll fish my way up. Just prospect up their little current stream with a fly, and I'll see if anything else is hiding down there. I can see the bit they're most likely to be in. It's deeper than you think, actually. It looks shallow, but it's June clear, and I was only expecting it to be around my ankles, and it's up around my shins. It's so clear. Oh, it's actually up to my knees in places here. It's a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be. I've seen a guy once on the Derbyshire Wye fishing, and you know, clear water looks a lot shallower. And he got his waders on, and he steps off the bank and went right down. The water went right up over the top of his waders. I think he only thought it was going to be up to his knees. Well, that's where they should be. I can't see the fly, but if I see any little flick of a fish, I will strike. See if I can just nick one under this left bank. There we are. Little back eddy there. There might be a little home for a little small little trout. Probably find her somewhere with a bit more cover from this sun, might be a bit better. It's up past my knees now. I've just got a cast under a branch. Right, well, let's move on upriver. I can see there's a nice shaded tree-lined bit ahead of me, and that's probably going to be more conducive to getting a fish to rise. I'll keep on wading up the river now. Spectacular little river. On the right hand side, a very mossy cliff face. It looks like it's made of earth as opposed to rock. On the left hand side there's a shale bank, and it's a slow glide all the way through. I think what I'm going to do is just watch this for see if I can see anything rising first before I jump in. It's the best place to get in without making a sound. Let's just have a see. Let's see if there's anything rising in here. It's a nice big long glide. I can see the little rings on the water as midges hatch. I just need to look for the little splash of a fish, hopefully. If I get onto the other bank, I can actually just skirt along the shale as opposed to having to walk through the pool. I've got my polarised glasses on, so I can see pretty well. Problem is with these types of pools and these types of days and these very spooky wild fish is that you've only got to spook one in the pool, and that's when that flies off upstream, that's all of them done. Ah, there's a fish. Oh, right. He's a nice big brownie. He's seen me and I've spooked him, and he's gone upstream, and what he's done is buried himself under a ledge of bedrock. What I really need to do is find a fish that's rising well behind it. I might just give him a minute and see if he's going to come out, this fella. He looked a nice brown, actually. It's funny, I bet that's his little bolt hole where he goes. It's like a shelf of bedrock, and there's a gap underneath it where it's eroded. And he just darted upstream, and he knew where he was going. He's gone straight in there. And I'm not silhouetted against a light or anything. It just shows you how wary these fish are. I mean, he might not come out for another half an hour now. I think what I'm going to do is, instead of just continuing walking up and spooking anything else, I'm going to fish my way up. At least this one's not gone to the head of the pool and scattered any more fish. So there is a riffle runs in at the top, so I would expect hopefully a fish to be on the end of the riffle, just taking the first dibs of food as it comes into the pool. And I can actually cast here without getting into the river at all. I'll work a bit of line out back here and make my way up. I think a fish today will be a result. It's It's proper challenging fishing this, just how I like it. Nice back cast. So it's interesting, there's fish here and there's plenty of fly on the water, but they're not wanting to rise. I wonder if that is just the sunshine that's putting them down. But it's fairly dappled light here. Oh God, nearly fell in. Kind of crouched behind a branch of a tree. And there's lots of little white bubbles on the water, and my skinny black net has a little white tuff, so I can't differentiate, but I'm pretty good at spotting fish rising, so if anything rises I will assume it's mine. This is the pool, this is where there should be a fish, just at the top here. A survival type fishing, this creeping low to the floor and desperately trying to not silhouette yourself. I think if I get any closer they're going to see me. I can go off my other shoulder. Nope. Right, let's move up again. There's more water than I thought there was going to be actually. It's perfectly fishable. Right, we've got a bit of broken water, then another long glide. But it looks shallow and it's very, very sunny, so I may skip over this one unless I see anything from behind it. I've just put a speculative cast out just where I can see some bubbles moving down. And we're coming up to a nice bend on the river, and there's some good, quicker water moving into this pool, so that looks ideal, but the cast is going to be incredibly hard. I just think of the best way of approaching that. I can see my shadow just moving across the river. That's going to spook anything. Let's put a few speculative casts out at the back end of it. I can just cast in between these two trees. Oh, there's a fish. Hello. Where did you come from? Just glided out of the rocks right in front of my feet. I'm wondering whether we might need to swap to a nymph at some point, because I'm seeing fish, but I'm not seeing them rise. I can see another one there actually. He's just, yeah, they're right down the bottom. I can see this fella is just sidling away from me. He knows there's a danger there. Come up and take me net. I think a little pheasant tail nymph might be in order here. I've treed it anyway. I've got 3 or 4 casts in before I put it in a tree. I think we're going to swap over to a nymph. Oh, there's about I've just seen about 6 brownies under the tree branch, and they're all feeding on the bottom. Let's swap over to a nymph. Give this pool a rest for a minute while I swap over, and then if we can get a fly down there. I've just seen them. They're in about 3 foot of water, and there's about 6 brownies together. And they're actively feeding down there, so they're obviously taking nymphs of some description down there. I've got a little skinny pheasant tail of a size 16 with a bead on, and that should just get me down enough, hopefully. Let's get this fella on. I've just backed off from the pool a bit as well as I'm re-tackling, just to make sure I don't spook any of these fellas down here. Going to run a bit of degreaser on this leader as well. Make sure this nymph is going to get right down where I need it to. Right, and this is a hands and knees job, this. And I need to just, it's hard to get a presentation. It's a swirling pool. Just watching the end of that line. Right, might try getting behind him, I think. I can see a fish there. Oh, he took it. This is good fishing, this. I just lifted the rod tip to try and induce a take, and he nipped at it, and I was too slow. You wouldn't think I've been fly fishing for 30 years, would you? That's 2 takes I've missed now. I'm creeping cautiously into the back of the pool. It's a mixture of boulders and flat bedrock, and there's some very low trees in front of me, and there's a gap in the rocks. It's bringing fast water into the pool, but it's so hard to get a cast in here. The place where I want to put my fly, there's 6 inches of gap. In fact, as the tree blows, it touches the water, and it's nigh on impossible. Oh, I've got one. There we go. Hi. Yes. There we are. Beautiful. Come to daddy. I had to let that nymph sink right to the bottom, and I think it's deeper than I thought it was. I've nicked him. There we go. Beautiful little wild brownie. And the hook's falling out in the net, which is a bonus. And he got little barbless hooks. It's just a skinny pheasant tail, but he's a nice fish for a little wild stream like this. Absolutely beautiful. Let's slip him back. Off he goes. Perfect little brownie. Well, I'm chuffed to bits with that. There he goes, I can see him. Going straight back down to join his mates. Alright, I'll leave these fish now, leave them in peace, and I'll move on up. But I've counted 8 fish in this little pool here, plus that bigger one down there, plus there was 3 rising in the bottom pool, so that's 12 fish I've seen so far. Right, let's get back into the riffle here, and I think what I'm going to do now is it seems to be that they're not wanting to rise still, so I'm going to prospect up with a nymph and see if we can't just get a few trout just prospecting upstream. Right, it's a nice little section of river this. It's little gaps in rocks that form pools. A very still sunny pool ahead of me, some huge boulders and some very old hawthorns just hanging over the river. This is going to be a hard place to fish, this one. It's very still. Oh well, let's drop some. She probably could be good with something like a little spider. I think a bit of active nymphing in here. It's going to give the fly a bit of movement, maybe as I would in the still water, because it's that still that it might just need a bit of movement to get a take. It looks reasonably deep. There's no weed in the river as such. It's boulders and bedrock and gin clear water. I can't explain how clear this water is. and the weed growth is that, I don't know the technical name, but as anglers call it, that snotty green stuff. But there's not too much of it at all, there's only a bit. So I'm approaching this very still pool really as I would a still water. But it's a lot deeper than you think. It really is. This is very deep. This is suddenly I'm up round my proverbials. What's a little ledge of rock I can get onto on the left bank here. And hopefully, if I work my way around here, I'm going to be presented with a bit of a bit of riffly water here. And I can sneak up on anything that's in these riffles. Good grief, it's deep. I wasn't expecting this. You could swim in it. I imagine people do. There's got to be a few trout in the head of this pool here. It looks absolutely right for them. So I'm just casting upstream and prospecting, so I've just got a little bright loop on, bright green braided loop, and I'm just watching the loop come down the river, and if it stops I'm going to put a nice strike in. But it's slippy here and it's deep, so I'm just being very careful. I don't want to go for a swim really. It might be warm, but stop there. It might be warm, but it's not that warm. It just shows you the power of this stream when the water's up to create this kind of depth in the bedrock. Right, I'm just on where I think a fish should be. Right, that's exactly where if there's going to be one, he's going to be there. Well, obviously they've not read the script. Oh well, let's keep moving up. I would have put money on there being a fish just there. I'm going to keep on at it in case they're up in that turbulent water. Time to get across the river. Whew. I can see a rising fish. There we are. Again, there's a gap in some rocks, and the water's rushing through the gap and it's scoured a pool out. So I can see a fish in the middle of the pool. I think I'll keep the nymph on because it's certainly been what they've wanted so far. This looks a nice piece of water, this. A little touch there. That was bottom or not. It's a strange current here. It's pretty much a giant back eddy. Oh, wow, you little monkey. I just give it a twitch and it grabbed that. But they're so fast. You definitely want a little bit of a twitch in these slow pulls just to induce the take. Another very deep section of river here. Well, I think I'll have a last little look at what's around this corner. Broken water here, very shallow. I don't think there'll be much in here. Oops. That might even get out and... Oh no, I'll keep walking up this broken water. There's a few large dark olives hatching. There's another pool. Let's just have a little look up here before we clomp through it. It's very still again. Yeah, there's a fish. Really needs a dry fly in here. I'll pop a dry on for this last bit here, and a few overhanging trees, and there's a bubble stream running under them. Nice high banks on both sides, but I just saw a little disturbance there which would indicate a fish just sucked something. I think a little spider or a dry again, so I'll just change over, see if we can end on a dry. Okay. Another little double badger, just some general small natty midgy type fly. If I scatter something here, I've had it. It's definitely a fish. I think I'm going to get one shot at this. And yet again, they always decide to live in the most awkward places, don't they? And they know what they're doing. There's two fish. There's one under the tree branches and there's one a little further up. Relatively easy back cast. Oh, I've seen one tail. That looked a reasonable fish actually. Right. Try and put a cast in here and just work my way up, just in case there's anything in front of me I've not seen. The last thing I want to do is spook one. Oh, I hit the tree and it dropped off onto the water. I thought I'd had it then. Bounced off the branch. Oh, he's tailing this fish. I'm creeping up. I've got branches all over the river. It's about 8 inches deep. There's obstructions behind me. This is proper stealthy fishing. How am I going to get a cast into him? It's almost impossible. I'm hopefully just going to cast to the side of him and he'll come across for it. If he sees it, Will he move for it though? Or will he just stay in his little food lane and be happy? Or does he want my double badger? I'm really getting close now. I'm just about in casting range, but it's a 1 in 100 shot, this cast. Whether I'm going to get in the tree or not, let's give it a go. Oh, I've treed it right above him. Go on, drop off. No, it's stuck. It just caught the tree, just. And I thought it was going to bounce off, and it's not. It's just, it twizzled around the branch and it stuck, so I'm going to have to walk and spook him. Well, that's me done for here. I've had about an hour's fishing and I've had 3 takes. I've had one lovely little brown trout. I've seen a few fish as well and had a few close calls with the trees. So thank you ever so much for listening. As ever, it's shop.peaksflyfishing.com for our flies, and it's peaksflyfishing.com for our tuition website. Take care, until next time, bye bye.